All right, let's dive into one of Christianity's biggest symbols, the cross. We're going to explore the deep theological logic behind it, based on our source material. We'll see how the cross is presented as much more than just a moment in history. It's framed as a cosmic solution to a problem that all starts with one really fundamental question.
So here's the question that kicks everything off, one that people have been asking for centuries. Why do we sin? The Korean theological text we're looking at today gives a very specific, very structured answer. It builds this entire logical system to explain it, starting right at the dawn of creation. So here's our roadmap for how we're going to unpack this whole thing. We'll start with the problem, this idea of a cursed world. Then we'll look at the symptoms, what's at stake, and how the last Adam is presented as the solution. And then, of course, we'll see how the cross works to resolve everything, leading to the ultimate goal, a restored creation.
Okay, first things first, we have to set the stage. The entire argument is built on the idea that the world we live in isn't how it was originally meant to be. According to this text, it's a world that is fundamentally under a curse.
And this is really the bedrock of the whole argument. The first Adam's transgression didn't just affect him or even just humanity. It sent ripples out into the very fabric of the physical world. The land itself, the ground beneath our feet, was fundamentally changed by this curse. So what did this curse actually do? Well, it had this twofold effect. Externally, the earth itself fights back, right? It produces thorns and thistles. But internally, and this is absolutely key to the whole argument, the human body itself is now cursed. It starts producing something the source calls 육체 의 소욕, which translates to the desires of the flesh.
And that brings us to a really, really important distinction the source makes. It draws a very clear line between these desires of the flesh and the actual act of sinning. Getting this difference is the key to unlocking the rest of the logic here.
So what exactly are these desires of the flesh? Well, the text defines them as these built-in, natural inclinations that we have simply because we live in a cursed body. It's that constant internal gravity pulling us away from what God's law says. The crucial part, this is a symptom of the curse, not the sin itself. This chart just lays it out so clearly. Look at the left side. The desires are an innate inclination, a state of being. It's an unavoidable symptom. It's not in and of itself a sin. But then look at the right side. Sin is an act of will. It's a choice you make. It's when you yield to that desire. That's the transgression.
And this right here is the tragic catch-22 of the whole thing. The logic is that you're not born as a sinner, but you are born into a body that has these incredibly powerful, innate desires. And because you don't have the strength on your own to resist them, you will, inevitably, choose to act on them. So you're destined to become a sinner.
Okay, so the consequence of sin is death. That's a pretty foundational concept. But what does death really mean in this framework? The source text is super precise about it, breaking it down into two completely distinct categories.
Okay, let's walk through this. First, you have the first death. This has two parts. You've got earth death, which is physical. The body gets old, it returns to dust. Then you have abandonment death, which is spiritual, being cut off from God. This first death is something everyone faces. But the ultimate stake, the real danger, is the second death, what the text calls the lake of fire. This is a permanent, eternal separation from God.
All right, let's recap. We've got a cursed world, inescapable sin, and two kinds of death looming. It's pretty bleak, right? Well, now we get to the solution, and it's presented as a perfectly symmetrical answer to the problem. You see, if the problem started with the first Adam, then the solution has to be a last Adam. Jesus doesn't come in as some outsider who's immune to the system. No, he enters right into the same cursed reality, the goal being to dismantle it from the inside out and create an escape route.
And this quote from the source just nails the logic. For the solution to even work, it had to match the conditions of the problem one-to-one. Think about it. If Jesus had some special curse-proof body, how could he possibly be a real substitute or a believable example for us? He couldn't. So this was absolutely essential. He had to have the exact same kind of body, a body that felt those same desires of the flesh, that faced real, genuine temptation. It was only by living in that body without giving in to sin that he could prove it was possible, and only then could he qualify as a legitimate substitute for everyone who couldn't.
Okay, so we've got the last Adam, he's in a cursed body, and he lives a perfect, sinless life. Awesome. But how does that actually fix the problem for the rest of us? This brings us to the absolute climax of this entire theological argument, the cross. This slide shows the whole domino effect so well. Step 1, Adam sins. Boom, the curse hits, leading to death. Step 2, the last Adam, Jesus, shows up and lives that perfect life. Then, step 3, this is the game changer, substitution. On the cross, Jesus willingly takes on that abandonment, death, that spiritual separation from God in our place. And that leads to step 4, the escape. That substitution pays the price, which opens the door for humanity to reconnect with God and escape that terrifying second death.
So, if you boil it all down, the entire mechanism hangs on this one powerful idea: substitution. The one who is sinless takes the penalty of separation for those who are sinful. He endures that temporary spiritual death so that we can be spared from the eternal one. But hang on, because the story doesn't just end there with saving individuals. According to this text, the implications of the cross are massive. They're cosmic. The final chapter isn't just about saving people. It's about healing the entire creation that was cursed in the first place. You see how much bigger the scope just got? The ultimate goal described here isn't just a patch-up job. It's a universal renewal, the complete restoration, and, get this, the completion of what creation was always meant to be. The curse that fell on the physical world is finally totally lifted. The text calls this future state the millennial kingdom, and it's a vision of a world completely flipped on its head. No more death, no more pain. The physical curse on the planet is gone. And this is amazing. The law of the jungle, the whole survival of the fittest thing, is totally replaced by a new governing principle, a law of love. Even the animal kingdom finds peace. And that brings us to the final, really profound question that the source material leaves us with. After laying out this entire logical chain of events, from the curse to the cross, all the way to restoration, it makes you wonder, was this whole cosmic drama, this whole journey through brokenness and redemption, was this the plan for completing creation all along? It's a question that really reframes everything we've just talked about.